With the release of Chapter 2 Remix, it has never been more important to know how to be a good fighter in Zero Build. In this video, I'm going to help you and show you how in under only one day, you can improve your aim, master your movement, and I'll dive inside my mind in a solo ranked game and cover everything that led to me winning those games. Now, in order to improve your aim, you have to understand hit scan. So I'm going to show you how this chapter works completely different than from the previous chapter. Hit scan basically means that you have to aim your target straight onto target and you do not have to account for their movement. In previous chapters, for me to track this target, I would have to aim ahead. But as you can see, aiming ahead to try and hit him, I will not be hitting any shots. And that is because you have to aim directly at the target. I'm using a scoped AR, which I'll explain later why I think is one of the most underrated weapons this season. But as you can see, if I start aiming onto the target directly, I will hit shots much easier. And the scoped weapon becomes very overpowered when used correctly. However, since we don't have attachments this season, every other spray weapon and AR is going to have massive bloom, which basically means that within the crosshair that you're seeing here on the screen, bullets will randomly travel within that crosshair. The smaller your crosshair is, the more accurate, which is super important to understand, which means that aiming is a little bit more random, but you will decrease that randomness if you're spot on with your aim, which is why it's very important to practice your aim. So if I single tap this AR, it is a lot easier for me to be accurate. And basically, every time that my crosshair is on the target, I'll be easily hitting those shots. So basically, what you need to know is that, yes, there is a little bit more luck involved in hitting shots, but you minimize that luck by having really good positioning of your crosshair. And I'll leave the code for this map in the description. Here, I'll pop it on the screen for you as well. There's a lot of aiming scenarios that you can go test out for yourself, and you can test out the current weapons in this season as well. Even some movement scenarios that you can use with the grappler. Personally, with this season specifically, because it is hit scan, I really enjoy using other aim trainers outside of Fortnite. And a popular and free one for PC players out there, controller or mouse and keyboard, would be Aim Labs. And there's a bunch of drills on there, and every drill that I play is hit scan, so it's perfect practice for this season. Now, you should also try to understand a simple concept that is very overlooked, and that is centering your aim. Basically, what centering my aim means is having my crosshair ready to be in the position where the opponent is going to be. So if I'm trying to kill this player right here, and let's say I'm behind cover, I'm not going to be looking down and looking like this to try and see the enemy. Instead, I'm going to already position my crosshair on the level and elevation of where I think the enemy will be. That way, I don't have to make any unnecessary flicks, and it would look something like this. As opposed to I see a lot of players doing is they will just run, try to have really crazy movement, and their crosshair placement would be terrible, and they would be looking down like this, coming up, and they have to flick up to try and hit those shots, which is adding more steps to a much more simple process. Now let's talk about how you can master your movement. Now, I was really hoping that bunkers would be in this season, but they have completely removed them. If they do come back, I will show you a bunch of bunker movement. Let's talk about some grappler techniques that the pros do not want to reveal to you. Obviously, the grappler is very useful. Now, it's important to understand the distance at which you can grapple, because a lot of times there's a red X on your screen showing you that you can't clip onto something. And I don't know why this is a thing, but in reality, you actually can. So let me go ahead and mark this right here. So right now we're 30 meters away, and the mark disappears at around 31 meters. But if I shoot my grappler right now, it actually clips onto the target. Now, the more you play, the more of a feel you're going to get for this, because a lot of times you're not going to have the time to just mark something and be exactly 31 meters away. Because yes, after you cut off to 32 meters, it no longer works. So 31 meters for some reason is that distance to where you can actually still clip onto things. Now, there are certain trees and things on the map that you can't grapple onto, and I'm still myself figuring that out. You may see a lot of players do this right here, and you wonder how to do it. What this allows you to do is instantly pull out your weapon and start aiming for the target and not have to worry about that delay that comes after you land with the grapple. And to do this, it's actually very simple. As soon as you click the grapple animation, basically immediately at the same time, you would switch to your weapon that you want to use, and it will shoot the grapple and pull your gun out at the same time. Now let's go ahead and dive inside my mind, where you'll see all the things I just showed you, and I'll explain them in further detail and break down every single fight and show you some more advanced techniques. Now, this game I landed at Slurpy Swamp. In my opinion, the second best landing spot next to the yacht. I heard a third party and this player was just running in the open and my weapons were looking stacked. So I keyed him here and killed him. And I noticed a player sitting in the bush looking at me. A lot of times, players will get greedy and try to do something to get that loot from the player I just eliminated. Or even potentially try to get aggressive on the bush thinking that the loot that you have is incredible. When in reality, looking at my health and the positioning that I'm in, this player would be at a complete advantage if I decide to put myself in the open and push him. So the smartest thing to do is to disengage, run away, and grab some more loot until you're ready to fight. And he did shoot at me while I was running away, so notice how I'm making sure to see that he's not keying me as I'm turning my back. And I know it's very unlikely that these players have grapplers off spawn, but you never know. But I was able to disengage and pick up some better loot. As I was looting around, I spotted footsteps and I started playing very careful, and I was baiting this gold attack to see if the player would go for it. Now he jumps out of the toilet and I try to hit a shot, and now he knows that I am here, so I know that he's either going to get aggressive or completely run away. But I always start playing defensive. And just like I expected, he was running right at me. Notice how I'm centering my aim to where I think he's going to be. And I fire my shot, but accidentally miss and immediately hug the cover. Here I realize I am at a disadvantage because he has a right peek and I know he's going to pick up that tack. So I jump up right back to the cover to where I had a right peek and go for a shot as I'm doing that as well. But notice how hard it was for him to track me, and now he is the one at a disadvantage because I have the right peek advantage. So what I do here, instead of running at him like I see a lot of players do and taking a dumb 50-50, I right peek this pole in front of me, continue taking my shots with the pump and the dualies that I have, and as soon as I crack this player, it's pretty simple. Now I just chase him down and easily eliminate him from the game. In the next fight, as I'm driving around, I spot a player right there and I know that he saw my car, and so I rush myself to make sure that I get to the high ground before he does. And I am strategically running around, making him think that I have no clue that he is there, and you can see he's sneaking when he has no clue that I am aware exactly where he's at. And so because I see him from above, I'm able to take the first shot, have that nasty pump and dualies combo, and eliminate him from the game as well. Notice how after the fight, instead of immediately going through the loot, I take a right peek on the toilet in case there's somebody else coming, and I make sure my guns are fully reloaded, and I play patient on getting that loot, especially because my loot is already pretty good. So then we have the mid game where I actually spent a lot of time looting, because one of the most important things to do is trying to find movement this season, specifically the grappler. And I always use a car as I'm moving around the map, making sure I have all the loot that I need. And after some time, I had decent loot, but I still didn't have a grappler. And so the goal here is to capitalize on a third-party fight and potentially get the refresh that I need. And this is exactly what happens here. I spotted a huge fight breaking down here, so I decided let me come and third-party that and pay close attention because we are about to utilize a lot of the aim tricks we already talked about. As I'm approaching this fight, I'm trying to locate the player, and I spot him just right there sitting in the middle of my crosshair. I take the pump shot, and now I know exactly where this player is, and I also know that he's going to be prepared to fight me. So as I'm running here, instead of running all the way around the corner trying to challenge him, I stop right at the right peak because he was waiting for me to run through this door and get overly aggressive. And as I do that, I'm able to hit a very nice shot because he leaves himself wide open thinking that I was just gonna run straight at him. And after dealing some damage, I know I have a health advantage. This is where I get a little bit psycho. I run straight at the door with my gun out, centering exactly where I know he's going to be right peeking. Knowing that I have a purple pump and I already dealt some initial damage, it's going to be very hard for me to lose this fight if he does exactly what I think he's going to do. I jump up right here to make it difficult to hit myself, and again my crosshair is placed exactly where I think he's going to be, and as soon as I see him I fire my shot and the pump just does its thing. Now I hear a car driving up to me. The only thing I focus on is grabbing that grappler for this fight that I'm about to take. I know this player hurt the fight and I am healthy. He's going to be overly aggressive because he might think that I'm weak since we just got done fighting. So I immediately rush myself to the high ground expecting him to push. I hear him get out the car, immediately get my pump out and start aiming in the direction that I think he's at, and he does exactly what I was expecting him to do. Now I notice he has a tack. If you're fighting against somebody with a tack, they're going to try to get into your face. So I swerve my body to the left and I immediately shift my direction back to the right, making it difficult to track me. And then I hit a jump shot on him, and notice how I tricked him with my movement as he's running directly into the place where he thought I was going to go. I hit that jump shot crack. I grapple back up onto high ground, and here no matter what happens, I know I'm way healthier, so I just hit my shots and finish the job. I turn around, get into a different spot, making sure there's no third parties, and when I know it's clear, I come back into the house and get all the loot that I was missing. Then I heard some shots over here by the gas station, and the fight was already done. And I don't want to make the same mistake that the player that pushed me made, so when I grapple onto this building, I do do the grapple cancel animation in case there's somebody above. And instead of brainlessly jumping into the building, I check my right peaks. I look around to make sure the player's nowhere to be found. Then turns out he was at the gas station and he's running straight out of the gas station. Notice how I use my grappler to make it very difficult to hit myself. And he was already weak, so it was an easy cleanup. Then I find this AFK player just sitting in the open. There's really not much to this kill. Now we're headed into the end game and I hear people brawling at this bunker. So I immediately drag myself over and again do the grapple animation trick to catch this player off guard and easily eliminate him as he was weak from the previous fight. Now I stayed in this positioning for a while just looking for people, and at this point of the game I understand that it is a lot easier to be third party here and die. So I make sure I'm playing patient and only push players if I absolutely have to for better positioning, but since I'm in the best spot on the map, I don't need to do that. It comes down to being 2 players left and I spot one over by the tree. I go for a great play here trying to boogie him behind this tree, but unfortunately the boogie doesn't hit. But even then, notice that when I grapple and I slide onto this fight, I grapple to where I always have a right peak. Now if this player was a little bit better, he would have shot at me as I was grappling, but he was also very weak in shambles, so it was a very free kill for me. Now we got the last player remaining. I spot him in the distance rotating in. I was able to crack his shield and I immediately push him with the grapple. And notice here, after I hit him with this mean shot, because I am not at a right peak advantage, I keep bunny hopping past him and switch to my AR and start spraying. This made it very difficult for him to eliminate me. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to join the most underrated zero build community on YouTube and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out when I go live. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next one.